have a decent amount of experience with the Metroid series, having played and completed Super and Dread. I also played a decent amount of Prime and a bit of Fusion, Zero Mission, and the original Samus Returns. So I know what makes these games stand out with their atmosphere, progression, abilities, and music. After waiting more than 8 years, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is finally here, with not many people talking about it, so I'm looking into why that is. When you start the game, the controls are the same as the other Prime games, with the addition of mouse controls for the Switch 2 edition, which is what I'm using for this review. At the beginning, I had to adjust the sensitivity in-game and even remap some of the controls. Once that was done, I was able to play without any issues. The game has the standard introductory section that teaches you everything you need to know, and it's pretty cool that you're going to a Federation base to help defend it. Then, after that, you lose almost everything in your inventory as expected, and you have to get old and new abilities. Prime 4 keeps the scanning system, which I consider pretty useful because it lets you see what you can interact with and provides lore. There is the issue of having to scan everything to 100% the game, which makes the experience worse. Because if you miss a certain scan, you might not get another chance. Thankfully, the game does show a list of all the scans, which helps with 100% in the game, but it does not solve the issue. Besides that complaint, it still fits the series, as it helps guide the player to what they need to do. This game also retains the morph ball and the way you navigate with it in these cool 3D and 2D obstacle sections we come to expect from the Prime series. Prime 4 introduces 2 brand new abilities, psychic powers and a motorcycle. There is a decent amount of stuff you can do with these powers, like controlling a beam's direction that can hit multiple enemies, or headshots you can even aim at. I love how the bosses and enemies have you using your psychic shot to shoot them in the back, hit multiple weak spots, and make sure the beam does not hit any obstacles. Psychic powers also allow you to grab these orbs and put them where they belong, or move switches to activate mechanisms. There are also psychic puzzles that have you aligning pieces to get a key that will allow you to unlock a door. This is satisfying to do with mouse controls, as it makes it pretty interactive. The motorcycle, on the other hand, is also a great addition, with its design fitting the series very well, and you mainly use it to explore the open desert. The controls are pretty good, and the game has a cool racetrack that helps you get used to controlling and attacking with the motorcycle. You can even upgrade the motorcycle by adding more boost or terrain upgrades. I do have an issue with the game's open area, which I will get into later. When it comes to stupid complaints, I've seen people online complaining about the NPCs, calling them annoying. That is not the case. They do not appear often, and when they do, they assist you in fights and getting the upgrades. While I do understand people wanting Samus to be alone in her adventures, the series should expand by involving more characters to deepen the lore, but not so much that it takes the main focus. When it comes to fighting alongside the NPCs, you do not have to worry about them causing a game over when they die, because when they go down, you can revive them rather easily. Still, there is an exception to this, during a certain section where they can die, which I will cover in the spoiler portion. On the topic of fighting, the enemies are harder here than in Prime 1, as they deal a decent amount of damage, and many come at you. It may feel overwhelming, but the game has this radar that tells you where they are, so you can strategize accordingly to avoid damage and use your psychic abilities at the right time to deal with multiple of them. As you progress through the game, the enemies get stronger buffs to match your increased arsenal, which is something I'm glad they went with to increase the challenge. My favorite enemies to fight are the two newest ones introduced in this game, Griever and Psybot. Grievers are pretty fast and aggressive, and they have you on your toes with them attacking in groups and throwing acid at you. Psybots come in different types, each with its own way of fighting them. Some of them teleport, have shields, send shockwaves, or have gunners. When it comes to graphics, they are spectacular. These are some of the best visuals I have seen Nintendo put out, and I'm glad they gave Metroid a AAA gaming budget, even though they do not sell the best. The soundtrack itself is much better here than in Dread, as it's very atmospheric and fits the game's areas perfectly. Here are some of my favorites. When it comes to the places you explore, they are the standard areas you traverse in Metroid games. Forest, ice, lava, and mines. Nothing wrong with that as long as the gameplay is spiced up in each region. There is one area I consider the best, and that is Bolt Forge, because you deal with various obstacles, get introduced to the motorcycle, enjoy fantastic music and scenery, and fight some pretty good bosses here. The worst area in the game is the Great Mines, which has some decent exploration and puzzles. However, it's pretty linear and you do a lot of combat against creepers with the Federation Force troops. Even with my complaints, it's still a solid area of the game, just not as good as the rest. When it comes to bosses, they are super cool. Some have you using a psychic beam to navigate through obstacles to hit 3 weak points. Another has you riding your motorcycle, dodging his projectiles while hitting his weak points. In one of the Sylux boss fights, you have to use a grappling hook to avoid touching the electric ground. Now, let's talk about the open area. In there, you can find collectibles in the open, along with small bases and ruins to explore for quests or upgrades. These all fit pretty well with the series, because it encourages you to look around for secrets or come back when you have the right upgrade. However, there is this tedious side quest where you have to collect green energy crystals scattered throughout the area or in the ruins. This quest was made to help pad out the game, and to 100% the game, you have to find all of them, which is pretty annoying. It does give you worthwhile upgrades, with one of them giving you a radar to help you find green energy crystals you missed, which is nice, but that doesn't solve how unnecessary this quest is. It's pretty much a mandatory core quest that lacks variety or puzzles. There is another quest you have to do. Luckily, it's pretty easy and fits well into the game without feeling unneeded. Another issue I have with the open area is that in terms of the game structure, it doesn't fit well, as backtracking becomes a bit more tedious due to travel and loading times. It does not help that the game is mostly linear. The story for the game is alright because it's not in depth, similar to most Metroid games. I did, however, like Sylux. He is a very cool villain with an interesting backstory, and I'm glad we're getting more of him. Now for the spoilers. Skip here if you do not want to be spoiled. The final boss against Sylux is great. The first phase has you working alongside the Federation troops while making sure they do not die, which is an interesting way to increase the difficulty, where you always have to pay attention to who is low to make sure you do not get a game over. The boss itself has you shooting its arms and using your grappling hook to pull them out. The arms themselves switch to different elemental attacks to mix things up. The second phase of the boss is pretty cool, with you fighting in a wormhole while dodging his attacks, and using your psychic beam to stun him to make a projectile disappear. The final phase is amazing, because it tests everything you know about the game. One of Sylux's moves is to create a black hole while charging a big attack. So you have to use a psychic beam to stun him so his big move never activates. This phase is similar to the fake Sylux bosses you fought before, but he is much more aggressive here, with Sylux even trying to steal one of your energy tanks. After that boss fight is over, the Federation troops sacrifice themselves so Samus can be teleported, with the alien seed being planted on a new planet. And the game ends right there. A bit of an unsatisfying cliffhanger, I ain't gonna lie, because nothing is teased on what is gonna happen next, because we do not know when we're getting Metroid Prime 5. For those wondering what you get for 100% in the game, you get concept art and a slightly different ending. If you play on hard mode and you 100% the game, you get another cutscene exploring Sylux's backstory. Now that the spoilers are covered, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a good game, and I enjoy playing it. It adds new mechanics that fits well with the franchise, but some elements, such as the open area, should have been reworked to better align with the game structure. The game took me almost 17 hours to 100%. Which is in line with the average time for other Prime games. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond gets an 8.5 out of 10, and I say it's worth the $60 you pay for it. The Switch 2 edition is decent with enhanced graphics and mouse controls, which I say is worth paying the extra $10 for. But the original Switch edition will suffice if you do not want to pay extra. With that said, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond won't blow your mind, and the development time did leave the game feeling underdeveloped in some areas. Still, it's a solid time, and I recommend this game for anyone who wants to get into the Metroid series even more after playing both Dread and Prime Remastered. Having played this game to see its positives and negatives, I see that the Metroid series will unfortunately remain a niche series, with even the most acclaimed and promoted game, Dread, selling 3 million copies, and Prime Remastered at its $40 price tag only selling 1 million. I honestly don't know why that's the case. Are the games too confusing for players? Do they prefer to play other games that come out at the same time? Are they even promoted enough for people to know they exist? That's something we may never know the answer to. That concludes all my thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Thank you all for watching.